One of the questions that came up in my mind was, are we all vying for the same amount of the chemical, or do some of us have an addiction to some more than others? Are some of us more serotonin prone and oxytocin prone? And obviously we've heard
Yeah.
about dopamine. So yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people ask this because in modern psychology, there's a big trend toward typologizing people. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason for that is it's easier to get your PhD if you focus on something measurable. So if you divide people into types, it's more measurable and you
Oh,
get through the
brother.
door. And also, it's easier to get journalists to pay attention to your work if you have,
Yeah.
like, what type are you?
Yeah,
Um,
interesting.
yeah. So the way I look at it is we all gravitate toward what we're good at. So one person might be good at oxytocin in their perception, another person
Mm,
might be good at dopamine or serotonin. So you gravitate toward that. But in my belief is that you're better off going after the one you're not good at because that's the one you're lacking.
that's a great
So,
point.
yeah. So it's not to say this person has more serotonin or is addicted to serotonin, but yeah, so to look at it, we all like it's the same in sports. Like you could say you repeat the sport that you're good at, but that wears out one body part. So you
Mhm.
might be better off putting some of your energy into another sport where you're going to win fewer points, but develop a different part of your body.
Yeah.
And I just want to say something when I said about that siblings may have built the wiring that gives you bad feelings. So I'm reading this biography, speaking of siblings. Um, William James, the founder of modern academic psychology,
Mm,
he was so nasty to his younger brother. And
mm,
his younger brother is a famous novelist, Henry James.
mm,
So Henry James grew up with this constant criticism of his father and I mean, of his brother,
mhm,
but the two were imitating their parents. So the father was very
mm.
critical of the mother, and the mother was just polite and pleasant all the time. And so one of the older sibling took on the father's role, and the brothers were like inseparable, and yet they were nasty, you know.
Oh, that's fascinating. Of course, I'm the kind that finds the childhood stuff fascinating. But I was thinking on the if any healthcare workers listen to this, how fun it would be to give a couple more, I think, tools in the healthcare
Okay.
system
Okay.
for their neurochemicals. And
Sure.
so if one is not very good at a skill, but you know that you've got to get good at that skill, you either ignore it and you just never really get good, and you use other people, or you hide, or you find ways of not using it, and the stress that produces, and
Oh, yeah. Well,
right.
everyone I think listening could visualize the obvious skill would be if you were doing injections.
Yeah, right.
And,
Right, and
and
it's a simple thing, but you're afraid to do it. And but the importance of any skills that you're afraid of, the importance of looking those straight in the face and being, I can do those, and then addressing them. And I didn't know if that would be, I mean, in part dopamine. You create a goal and you reach that goal of perfecting that skill or improving that skill. You get a dopamine hit. You feel like the good one at injections,
so
or
you get
whatever.
serotonin. Yeah.
And so people come to you, so you get the
Yeah.
serotonin. Yeah.
So
So.
here's the big missing piece. To learn something, you have to learn in small steps, especially
Mhm,
when you're already having the cortisol issue. You
mm,
have to, if you do a tiny step that you can be sure you could succeed at that step,
mm.
then you start creating the anticipation of it going well rather than it going badly. So you need
Interesting.
to divide it into small steps and start with the smallest step that you know that you could succeed at.
Yeah,
Now that's a challenge if it's something like an injection where like, what is the intermediate step? But
yeah.
I know, of course, in the professional nursing world, you have artificial dummies to practice on.
Mhm,
So whatever skill that is that you need, find that intermediate way to build into small steps. And then the second thing is you can reward yourself for
mm,
that little step in the short run. Let's just say, just to give a very simplistic example, when you finally get to the point of injecting a real life person, and that you're going to go out for ice cream after.
Mm, mm,
Okay.
mhm,
Now, I know you can't go out for ice cream all the time, and
mm,
you could, use a variety of rewards, but you have to have the reward immediately after that you do this difficult thing. And then your brain associates the great feeling of reward. It's like,
mhm,
wow, I can't wait to do it because I'm going to get the ice cream after. Uh,
mm. So
Okay.
wise. And your dopamine steps, the small steps towards a goal. I was also thinking it would be a fabulous recommendation for a patient in the
Yes,
hospital
yes, yes.
who's trying to figure out how to make it through this hospital stay and all the misery that's a part of it, and just thinking, okay, one little thing can I do today, which is maybe sit at the edge of the bed, or something, and just to have one small goal. And
Yeah.
it seems to me when a goal is met, you set another one, you set your
Yeah.
next small goal, and with each one that you meet, continue to set goals. And that
Yeah.
seems to be like a great
Yeah.
way that a patient can
Yeah.
also,
And,
one of the ways.
before you get up, if you flap your arms, it really is very good. You know how I know this?
Uh,
People may know people who are conductors of symphonies,
oh,
they have the highest life expectancy.
that's
So it
right.
was learned that waving your arms is very good at moving yourself aerobically.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I think they had good cardiac health.
Yeah.
Am I right
Yeah.
on
But
that?
it's from that.
Oh, that's
So
great.
so a person can do that, and it's, doesn't have to hurt as much as moving your whole body, and it
That's a good
builds
point,
a lot.
as
So the
well.
other thing is always from a patient's perspective, we always need something to look forward to
Yeah.
that's accessible. Now, if you're not going to get out of the hospital for a month, or if you're going to have a cast on for months or something, no, that's too far away to look.
Mhm.
You need something to look forward to now.
Yep.
So I wrote a letter to my readers. I don't know if you wrote this, but I had pneumonia. I
Mm,
had viral pneumonia, and there were times that I was so weak that I couldn't hold my iPad. So I put a book on my iPod, and I listened to that.
mm,
And I saved things on my iPod that I love for when I have a bad day.
mm,
And so I was like,
mm.
the whole day is going to be a bad day. I mean, like, rather, I usually just listen to things in short spurts, but it's like I was really sick.
Yeah.
And I binge watched on Netflix the whole time. When I could finally hold up the iPad, I binged watch a series on Netflix, which I've never done before.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, I felt good,
Mhm.
and the day passed. And then I was like, "What'll I watch tomorrow?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's a treat. It's a treat when you don't get to do it too
you
often.
have to treat yourself with
Yeah.
what's accessible, and have treats ready. Um, and I know some people treat themselves too much, and some treat themselves too little. So that's
Mm.
why I give this sort of very methodical way of treating yourself.
And you could probably start to see internally in yourself what's working. So then you could see if you're doing too much or too little, and
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
getting fat or am I
Yeah, well, the method is make sure to give yourself a treat that you like.
mm,
The treat can't be, I'm going to eat a kale salad if you
right?
don't like kale salad. It has to be
Uh,
something you like, and it has to be immediately after you do the specific goal.
hmm,
So some people, give themselves a treat too much and set the bar too low, but other people say, well, I haven't really done enough, so I'm
hmm,
not really going to give myself the treat.
hmm,
So, and also vary the treats makes it more rewarding.
huh. And so probably best to have a little goal and then the treat. It's kind of either that, or if you're just miserable, then you just
Yes.
endure something. A treat is
Yes.
just fine. But
Yes.
otherwise, one of the best is the small goals and then the reward attached to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even, if the patients find their meals rewarding, if you do something a little bit distressing, like just before the meal,
Mm,
so that it quickly shifts their attention away from the distressor so that you don't dwell on it.
mm.